we're live. Yeah.
We are live. It is Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. I hope you guys have found us here. This is our first Wednesday?
This is our first Wednesday.
Yeah. So welcome to the Well-Seasoned Kitchen. It is, a crappy fall night, but we have wine.
We have wine. It was such a nice weekend, too. And then it kind of like slowly petered out on Monday, and then it was just done.
Yeah.
It's done.
And it's been done ever since.
Yeah.
And there's unfortunately no end in sight, but there is wine.
There's so much wine.
Yeah. So welcome to our kitchen. I am Angie. This is Chef Tessa. And you are probably used to seeing us on Thursday night, so hopefully you're finding us. Typically we were doing these Facebook Live cooking classes for 1 hour on Thursday night. But we've moved it back to Wednesday nights because we're really busy here in the kitchen and really busy in the store, and it just made for crazy long days on Thursday and Friday. So anyhow, how are you?
I was hoping that it was Thursday in my head. I was like, it's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, and then it's not. We're Wednesday. I'm all right, you know. Yeah. I'm getting there.
I like your little
like
kerchief.
Yeah, do you like it?
Yeah, you know, since Aunt Jemima's not allowed anymore, is that politically allowed? Are you allowed to have that?
I don't know. Someone's got to tell us. Probably not.
I'm sure somebody will let me know on Twitter.
I think it will.
I'm sure somebody will, let me know, and maybe they'll cancel us.
Yeah, I call it sport mode. When I put the bandana on, it's sport mode. That's all this is.
See, you have a good forehead. Not like other people. Some people have a 5 head. It's like huge, and they can't. Like, I feel like that's me.
Is that why you have bangs all the time?
That's why I have bangs, because I think I have a 5 head. You don't. It's there. Anyhow, we're not here obviously for our fashion sense. No. We're here because this one can cook. And tonight, Chef is making some Moroccan food.
Yeah.
I love Moroccan food.
So do I. And you know what? I think we both said it at the same time. Like, what are we cooking this week? And we couldn't come up with anything. And then we looked at each other and it was just like Moroccan at the same time. And I mean, it's lots of warming spices, things that keep you nice and happy inside, and lots of nice smells, a little bit of braising that's going to happen. So it's perfect for the crappy weather that we have out there.
It is, and it's really a simple thing that you can put together on a weeknight, but Moroccan food is actually really company worthy. I cook it when I entertain. I love it. I think it's got lots of flavor. It's you can change the flavor up and make it spicy. But Moroccan food tends to be more of like sweet spices, cinnamon, cumin, coriander, ginger.
Using sweet paprika instead of hot paprika as well. And Moroccan food is also amazing as leftovers because it sits overnight in your fridge and then it just gets better and better as it sits. So it's a perfect kind of reheat the next day for lunch or dinner type deal.
And it's super versatile. So tonight, Chef is going to make a tagine, which you can make in a proper tagine, which we do have, but we're only taking an hour to do this class tonight. So she's going to do it on the stove top. So she's going to do a tagine, but she's using boneless thighs tonight, right? So chicken thighs, because they cook really quickly, and she can get this meal on the table in an hour. But if you were cooking on a lazy Sunday or a Saturday afternoon, you could certainly use like a lamb shank.
Yeah, absolutely. You could do, if you want to stick to chicken, you can do like the breastplate in chicken breasts, the nice big chicken breasts, or you can do the whole leg combo as well. Any form of gamey meats work really well with this too. So
have you ever done a whole chicken in the tagine?
I've never done a whole chicken.
It's pretty good.
I've done a spatch, like a half spatchcocked chicken, but I've never done a whole chicken like.
It takes a while, obviously, but the beauty of the tagine. So tagine, I don't know if Jenna, if you can see on the top shelf, if Jenna can point the camera up there, but they're sort of like a pyramid-shaped vessel. And the idea is that the steam rises and it collects on the top of the tagine and then it runs back down into the dish. So it's like
and they're clay,
self-basting. Right? It's clay or cast iron.
Or cast iron.
The clay ones are really fragile, so they've actually started making cast iron ones now.
Interesting.
I don't have any experience cooking with the cast iron ones, but I can't imagine it would be any different than braising, in your Dutch oven.
No.
It would be the same sort of idea. So tagines are a really beautiful way to cook. And it's lovely to bring a whole tagine to the table, but you don't need to own one. You can do low and slow tagine in any sort of Dutch oven, and Chef's going to use a shallow frying pan tonight by the looks of things. So there's Moroccan spice blends. Chef is going to make her own tonight, but we sell a bunch. We sell Moroccan Lakama, Ras El Hanout. There's tons of really great pre-blended spices that work well for these kinds of recipes, so you can have them in your pantry. If you don't want to buy, I don't know, what is that? Probably like 6 or 7 spices.
There's 7 spices in this guy, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have to buy a lot of ingredients. So if it's not something you're going to make on the regular, you can buy one of the pre-made spices, and there's absolutely no shame in that. We sell tons of it, so they're always really super fresh. Yep. So in the tagine, you've got olives, you've got the dried fruit. So you're using apricots tonight.
I'm using apricots, and for the most part, like it's fairly simple. I've got apricots, olives, onions, garlic, 7 spices, some honey, chicken stock, chicken, and flour, and that's it. And that's all you need to make a really delicious, flavorful Moroccan chicken.
And the olives, I mean, lots of people don't love olives, so you can certainly leave them out.
Yeah.
But they add that sort of salty brininess. So if you're leaving out the olives, you'll need to adjust the seasoning, the salt, and some other things. So Chef can probably talk about that a little bit while she's cooking, hopefully.
Hopefully, we'll see.
She's got a lot of cooking to do, so I'm going to shut up. But we're also making tonight, we as in she, is also making baklava. So baklava is one of those desserts that I think intimidates people. They're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful, it's so complicated. It doesn't have to be. So Chef's going to do a really quick baklava that you can make with tons of different kinds of dried fruit and nuts. So hopefully she'll talk a little bit about some of the substitutions. Jenna's posted the recipes for tonight's class, so you can follow along. The recipes will live here in our Facebook post, and they're always on our website, wellseasoned.ca. If you have questions while Chef is cooking, feel free just to type them into the comment bars, and I'll relay them to her while she's cooking. But this is a fairly ambitious menu for
it is.
an hour.
I was setting everything up, and I'm like, we can do this. We can do this.
We can do this.
We can do this.
I better stop talking. So anyhow, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks. I will see you on the other side. Godspeed.
On the other side. Godspeed. Thank you, Angie. We are doing Moroccan Palooza this evening. So we're going to start by getting our baklava all done and into the oven. It does take about 40 minutes to bake. And then when it comes out of the oven, we're going to pour syrup over top of it. So I want that to be the first thing I attack. So while that's baking, I can then get the chicken on the go. And then we're going to do a little quick couscous to serve alongside the chicken. So for our baklava today, we're going to be doing a rosewater baklava. So orange blossom water and rose water are 2 very, very floral ingredients, obviously, in the name. And you only want to use as much as you need. So very small quantities, because a little bit goes a long way. A lot of the times, if I go to a restaurant and I see rose water in a dessert, I'll order it just to see if it's going to be soapy or not. Because if you put a little bit too much rose water or orange blossom water, all of a sudden you're kind of like, I don't know if I made the right decision. Why does this smell like dish soap? So very, very, very small amount. I've got 2 teaspoons of rose water. And as soon as you open the bottle, you can smell it right away.
The rose perfume is one of those old lady perfumes. You know, my great-grandmother wore rose perfume. She always had rose-scented hand lotion. So if it's overdone, that immediately takes me to full old lady mode.
When I was younger, the first little perfume set that my parents gave me was some Barbie thing, and it was a rose perfume, and I dropped it and smashed it in the kitchen.
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a nightmare. So my whole house smelled like rose water or rose, and my parents were not happy with me. So I've got some pistachios here that have been pulsed in the food processor. So it's nice and coarse here. It's not too fine. You do want a little bit of texture still. I've got some sugar and some water to make the syrup, a little bit of rose water, and some lemon juice. And then under my kitchen towel here, I've got my phyllo pastry. I'm going to be using an 8x8 pan for this to assemble the baklava. And then I've got some butter over here in a pot, which I'm going to get melting right away. Now, in a perfect world, when you're making baklava, you're clarifying your butter. So clarified butter is essentially when you cook your butter out, you wait for the milk fats and the milk solids to separate from the butter itself. So at some point when you're cooking butter, you'll see that it gets nice and foamy. That foam is part of the milk solids, so that's something you would remove. And then when you look at the bottom of the pot, you'll see that it kind of looks like there's little drops falling to the bottom of white. That's your milk fat. So if you're clarifying butter, you're trying to get rid of the top and the bottom layer once it gets cooked to a certain temperature. And the reason we do that is to increase the temperature, the ability for the butter to take on heat. The milk fats and the milk solids are what burns first. So by removing the milk solids, you're then able to increase it to a higher temperature, and it also won't have any streaks or anything like that going. So immediately as I'm melting my butter here, you can see that it's already starting to get foamy. Just because we're on a time crunch this evening, I won't be clarifying my butter. It's not something... do you want me to?
Oh my God, I'm leaving.
Oh my God, I'm getting fired.
One
I'm clarifying my butter.
One job. No, it's not necessary. It's totally not necessary. I'm just
And
giving you
that's
a
the
bad
night
time.
I got fired. So I'm not clarifying the butter. You might not see me next week. Trauma.
Oh, she'll be here next week. Don't you worry about it.
Hell or high water, I'll be here. So while that's just starting to melt down, I am going to start the process of building my baklava. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the bottom of my pan here with some butter. And this is also why I love baklava, because it's just, it's half butter.
Come on. Butter, sugar, nuts, fruit.
Nuts,
Come on. What is
everything.
not to love?
There is nothing here that I don't eat or I wouldn't eat. So to form the actual baklava itself, I've taken my phyllo sheets and I cut them in half lengthwise. So they're typically twice the size of this. But the reason I did that was so I could layer it nicely in my pan. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to place one sheet of phyllo vertically. I'm going to take another piece of phyllo very carefully here, and I'm going to lay it very terribly in the opposite direction here. And then I'm going to layer it with some more butter. And I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to keep doing this process until my pan is about halfway full. And once the pan is halfway full, I'm going to layer in all my pistachios. Now, do you need to use pistachios? No. You can use kind of whatever nuts that you prefer using. Pistachios can be a little bit on the pricier side. So walnuts is a very, very common substitution. We were actually going to do walnuts, but I can't eat them, so we figured that might not be a good idea because I would end up undoubtedly eating it at some point, and then it happens.
I love that Chef Tessa's channeling her inner Chef Dennis. Dennis used to try and figure out how many expensive ingredients he could actually incorporate into a single class. I love.
I do think about that.
I love that you're using the pistachios.
The pistachios?
I mean, pistachios are super classic, and they're really inexpensive over there because that in Morocco and in the Middle East, because that's where they're grown.
Right.
Obviously, they're not as affordable here.
Correct.
And please, if you're baking pistachios, come and see come and see us. We sell them shelled.
Yes.
As a child, I have trauma of my mother making me shell pistachios
Yes.
when I was a kid. And I think for like months, from probably October till February, the tips of my little tiny fingers were bright red because my mom insisted on buying those red pistachios.
I was going to assume they were bright red from just being stabbed by the pistachio shells constantly.
But she bought the ones that are soaked in the food coloring. I don't know why.
Oh.
I don't even know if you can still buy those.
I don't think I've ever seen those.
Oh, they're hideous.
What's the purpose of it? Why do you...
There was no purpose.
Okay.
That I can assume. I have no idea. But they were bright red, soaked in food coloring. I think they were just so people would eat them because back, 100 years ago when I was a child.
Before the wheel was invented.
There was like ingredients like pistachios were not very common.
Right.
At least where I grew up in Edmonton.
In Edmonton?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never seen red pistachios. And we used to always get as well the ones that were not shelled because my parents were like, why would we buy it? There was 4 kids. And my parents are like, why would we buy something that we can make our children do for us?
Exactly.
Why would we pay for that labor at the store when I've got 4 healthy children at home that can do it for us?
Yeah, your mother and my mother are the same person.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Except your mother and I are the same age, which is super weird. But
No.
another conversation.
Well, I don't want to talk about my mother's age. If she finds out, she will be here in a second. We don't need that.
Good. We have enough wine for her.
I don't know, man. She's French Canadian, man. She's a whole other beast. Okay, so I'm only about like a quarter of the way up here. So there is quite a bit of phyllo. That's what gets all those really nice layers.
So if you were having a dinner party, you can make this well
in advance. Oh yeah, because this can just sit on your counter. And so I'm making this is the traditional way that I learned how to do it, but there are a lot of different shapes. You can buy different types of phyllo dough. You can get the shredded phyllo dough, and you can do kind of the little logs. You can make nests out of them as well. So there's
this baklava doesn't freeze that I am aware of. Do you think it freezes?
Not with the syrup.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think if you wanted to freeze the baklava, I would say you would want to bake it. And then the syrup gets poured on after it comes out of the oven. So you'd want to bake it and then freeze it. But then you'd have to reheat it to pour the syrup on it because you want the syrup to be hot.
What if you froze it right now from this step? And then thawed it and baked it. Would that work?
Yeah, that would work. That would definitely work. So if you wanted to have something like this over the holidays, then you could form it, freeze it, and then pull it out and bake it. Absolutely. And then just finish it. But a little bit of baklava goes a long way. It is a very, very sweet dessert. So this pan, the 8x8 pan, I'm probably going to be cutting into about 24 small portions.
Come on. It's dessert, chef.
It is, but it's
portions.
So sweet.
Get real.
All right, all right.
That's like max 12 portions.
I'm going to watch you eat a quarter of it.
Just you, wait. Gladys says in New Mexico, the pistachios she can get there are dusted in red or green chili. Are they shelled, Gladys, or are they in the shell? That sounds really good, actually.
That sounds really good.
I have only ever seen the red ones, and it looks like Barb has two. Barb doesn't remember seeing green ones, but...
Dusted in chili powder, that would be really nice, actually.
It's New Mexico. I think it's the law.
Everything
has to have chili powder in New Mexico.
Okay, let's see here. I'm about a third of the way through my phyllo here.
It's a lot of layers.
It's a lot of layers, like me.
Yeah.
We're only like a quarter of the way there. Are you afraid yet?
A little bit. Do you want me to keep doing that while you're doing other things, or how's your
maybe.
time?
Do you want to keep doing this for me? Do you
Sure,
want to
I
keep
don't
layering?
mind.
I'm almost at the pistachio point.
Like, I'm probably going to eat almost all of it, so I should actually do a little bit
Do
of
some work for me?
Maybe.
Just a little bit. Yeah, we're tag teaming.
So,
Okay.
Are you ready to layer yet? Or are you still doing...
I was going to do 2 more sheets.
All right.
And then puff pastry, pistachio,
All right.
and then keep going.
All right. So you can start on your tagine if you
I
like.
can do that, and you're going to keep...
I'll take this over here and
Okay.
get back to you when I'm ready for the next layer.
Perfect. The syrup we can do a little bit later, so this can actually just kind of, that's all going to end up in, there we go, in a small sauce pot. So while she continues to layer, I'm going to jump into doing the chicken. So for the chicken here, I've got some boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I've been patting dry, so just on some paper towel. On this other plate here, I'm going to get some all-purpose flour, and I'm going to season it with some salt and some pepper. And we're going to dredge the chicken thighs in the seasoned flour here on both sides, and then we're going to sear the chicken off. So we're just trying to get some nice color. We also want a little bit of that flour in the bottom of the pan. It's going to help kind of thicken the sauce a little bit here. So I'm going to go ahead and coat the bottom of my pan with a little bit of cooking oil. So I'm actually going to use a little bit of grapeseed oil for this, which I did not take out.
Have you ever made baklava with anything but butter, like other fats, oils, or anything?
I have not. I have only ever made it with butter.
I've had it once made with coconut oil.
Oh, how was that?
It was a little odd. It worked. The phyllo crisped up and everything. It just didn't taste quite as rich, you know, it didn't have that toasty kind of flavor.
Yeah,
that you
because
get.
the butter as it's cooking too,
Yeah.
right, starts to get a little nutty and all things tasty.
It was a vegan version, so, you know.
It was a vegan version.
Enough said.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and dredge my chicken thighs here in my flour. And I'm just going to set them kind of on my cutting board for now while my oil heats up. And we're going to give these guys a quick sear. Now, chicken thighs cook a lot faster than our chicken breasts, so I should actually be able to get this together in a half an hour, which is very quick for a tagine. Typically, tagines, for all the spices and everything to come together, it takes at least an hour. But we're going to go for it. We're being brave this evening.
YOLO. All right, so we've got your layers of phyllo here. And so now pistachios go on?
Pistachios go on. You want to spread them nice and evenly all throughout.
Only pistachios are going in. There's no sugar or anything else mixed in.
No sugar, because we're going to be dousing that whole thing with a sugar syrup.
So your pistachios haven't been seasoned with anything like
Nothing.
cinnamon, nothing else is in there.
No, this is just a nice kind of plain Jane because of the rose water. Right. Because we're popping the rose water in there, I didn't want to do anything else that would be kind of conflicting, and I wanted to just keep it nice and floral.
So do you do one layer between your pistachios or two?
Are you doing pistachios? I normally just do all the pistachios in the middle, and then I kind of just keep going up.
Oh.
Yeah, I make it like a giant pistachio phyllo sandwich.
All right. I typically just layer between
You layer in between each one?
It's way more tedious.
It is. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to wash my hand here and get rid of all of the raw chicken things. Get the glove of flour off my fingers. Okay. Got my tongs here. My oil's been heating up. It's starting to shimmer a little bit. So when your oil is shimmering, it means it's kind of at the stage where it's moving around on its own in the pan. If you tilt the pan forward, looks like there are little waves or ripples kind of dragging behind. So that's a good sign that your oil is starting to get nice and hot. Do not, please, please, please don't put your fingertips in water and in the pan if you've got a whole bunch of hot oil in there. I don't know if you guys have just been bored and gone on the internet and seen kitchen fires and things that people have done, but that's definitely a way to do it, okay? By putting water into a pan of hot oil and having it kind of spit over, especially if you have a gas range, you're asking for a big fire to happen. You're asking for it. Although that was how my mom taught me.
We haven't had the fire department here for a while.
Definitely not since I've started. Is it time though?
No.
Okay,
no,
just checking.
Good. No.
I'm like, because I can make that happen. No.
Last time the fire department was here, it was like a year ago, Thanksgiving, and where the sushi restaurant is now, there was another restaurant there, and they had left a pot of something on the stove overnight cooking, and so when the fire department came, they could smell food burning, so they assumed it was us because we. You know, because we really cook here.
Yeah.
And so they phone me at home, like I get the alarm company calls.
Yeah.
And says, oh, you need to come down. There's a fire in your unit. I was like, what? A fire? So I come burning down. And I know all the fire guys.
Yeah.
Because we feed them.
Right.
So I come here, and they'd already been inside the store. I had let them in the store. And they come to the kitchen. And we had all of our Thanksgiving pies made. And so we had racks and racks of pies. Well, do you think they'd leave without a pie?
No, of course not. That's why they actually wanted to get in here, I bet.
I'm sure that's the only reason they responded to the call.
They saw the pies through the back door and were like, you know what?
There's a fire in there.
There's a fire in there. We got to go in there right now. We got to check and, see how those pies are doing. So while my chicken is browning, I'm going to talk a little bit here about the spices that I've got. So I've got a whole whack load of dry spices here. I've got ground coriander, cumin. I've also got ginger, paprika, cayenne, There is a little bit of saffron as well, and there's some cinnamon in here. So lots of nice kind of warming spices. A little bit of cayenne, not too much, mainly because I'm a massive baby. I think we established that last week. I put like a little pinch in my pumpkin spread, and I was almost in tears. So what I'm going to do is once my chicken is browned, I'm going to transfer that just back onto my cutting board. I'm not planning on using my cutting board for anything else, so I'll rest my chicken on here. I'm then going to add my onions and my garlic here. So my onions, I cut my onions in half and then just cut them into some rather thick slices to go into the pan. We've got a little bit of minced garlic here, and then chicken stock and honey. There we go.
This is a lot of pistachios.
It's a lot of pistachio. I mean, it's a pistachio baklava.
So other nuts that would work really well in here is almonds.
Almonds, walnuts absolutely would work well in there. If you really wanted to run your bill up, you could do macadamia if you wanted to really go for it.
Okay, Dennis.
But I would definitely think, as a kid, I always ate the walnut one. Because my walnut allergy didn't develop until about 3 years ago, which is why I keep eating walnuts by accident and scaring everyone around me.
How did you know you were allergic? Did you just go anaphylactic one day?
Well, it was a slow process because I always had walnuts in my yogurt every morning. And it got to a point where a few years ago my mouth would start to kind of tingle. And I was like, oh, it's tingling. And then it progressed into my tongue swelling. And now it's progressed into just my face swells and everything. So I went and got tested, and they were like, yes, you shouldn't eat this anymore. They're like, don't you feel it? Didn't you feel the reaction? And it's like, doesn't stop me. I love walnuts. I don't know.
It's interesting. A lot of people grow out of allergies. I don't hear often of people growing into them.
That's what I thought.
Except for like maybe celiac or gluten intolerance, something like that. But
yeah, the walnut, and it totally threw my family for a loop because we have lots of walnuts in our Christmas desserts. We do lots of walnut breads as well, so it was just kind of, it's heartbreaking. I love walnuts. I can't eat them.
I don't.
No?
I think walnuts are prone to rancidity, and I have like the most sensitive palate when it comes to that. I can taste it instantly if one nut in a whole thing is off, I can taste it.
Sour, it's sour and it stings your mouth.
So I've had some bad experiences with walnuts in my day, so I don't, it's not the first thing
that you'll gravitate towards?
Have you ever done a pecan baklava? I don't know, that's kind of weird maybe.
I have not.
Pecans maybe don't belong
I have
in
not,
baklava.
but you know what? I've been using pecans a lot more since my walnut allergy started. That's how I thought for the longest time that I just kept eating rancid walnuts. I was like, they're just rancid. That's why they're burning my mouth. It's just because it's rancid.
But let me keep eating them.
But of course let me keep, have you met me? Do you think I learned my lesson quickly? No, I don't.
Okay, so when we get to the final layer here of phyllo, what's going to happen?
Once you get to the final layer, we're brushing the top with butter, and then we're going to score it before we bake it. So we're actually going to cut it into what I was going to say was 24, but we could go for 12.
Well, if Heather's watching, Heather would tell you this is a 4-portion pan, Chef, but I'm not sure if Heather's joining us tonight, but...
Oh, well, I mean, she's not wrong.
All right, last layer.
Last layer.
So the phyllo started to get pretty dry and a little bit crumbly at the end there. So if you're doing big pans or multiple pans, you'd want to have a damp towel just covering the phyllo so it doesn't totally dry out.
Okay, so I've got my chicken here out of my pan. I just pop my onions in here. If you have a lot of chicken fat left over or a lot of fat in the pan, you definitely want to remove some of it. I didn't. In fact, I might need to add a little bit of olive oil into my pan. Okay. And I'm just going to cook these onions down for about a minute before I add the garlic in. And I'm using my spatula here and really kind of scraping the bottom of the pan as I go.
Sorry, can I give this to you to show on camera how this...
Yeah.
There's no weird chickenness over here.
There's no weird chickenness over here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm a big fan of cutting things in half and then in half again. I feel like that's the easiest way. All right.
And what's your oven at for the baklava?
So my oven right now is at 400 degrees.
Okay.
No convection. Because of the amount of butter in there, I don't have convection on. Okay. Let's settle for 16. Not 12, not 24.
All right, I'll eat 2.
You'll eat, there we go. Okay. So I'm just going in here, cutting through all the layers. And the reason we cut it before we bake it is so that when it does come out of the oven and we pour the syrup over top, it goes in between all of those layers. So I've got that guy scored off. You can also dust the top with any kind of reserved nuts if you'd like. Okay. And this is going to go in my oven.
So Berenica's asking if you can use duck fat. Is that, Berenica, are you thinking duck fat for the baklava or in the pan?
Yeah.
Because if it's in the pan, you could definitely use it. I'm not sure I would use duck fat in the baklava. It's maybe too savory.
It would be a little too savory and very strong. Duck fat has a very kind of potent flavor. I'm just shooting onions all over the place here. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil here. So my garlic just got added in. And I'm going to add my spice blend in now. As soon as you add your spices in, do not leave your pan alone. These guys are going to soak up any excess fat at the bottom of the pan. They're going to stick, and then they're going to burn. So as soon as those guys go in, all of your attention is in the pan. Oh, you can smell them right away. First I got cinnamon, and now I'm getting a little bit of cayenne there. Okay. And continue to stir it for about 30 seconds, just enough time so that all of the spices get a little bit of heat. And then we're going to add our chicken stock to the pan. So all of those bits that might get stuck at the bottom are going to be released as soon as we get that chicken stock in there. Okay.
Yeah, you can smell those spices instantly.
Instantly. It's lovely. And your entire house will smell, if you live in a building, your entire floor will smell glorious. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken stock here. All over my stovetop. Very important part here. And
good, I've been doing that right then.
You've been doing it right this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, no, I need you to be on, ideally. Fight with me. Now am I really like Dennis? I'm fighting with the stovetop and everything?
If your finger's wet, it won't turn on. Or if there's a lot of oil on the stovetop. Do you want me to do it? My hands are dry.
Okay.
Oh, you turned the power off.
Well, that's what I was trying to do, is turn it on.
Uh-oh. Chef killed the stove.
Now it's the most expensive class you've ever had.
All right. Wow, I don't know what you did.
I don't know what I did either. All I did was wipe the chicken stock off the stove.
Just let it calm down for a minute.
Let's unplug.
You can unplug this?
Just reset the breaker. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Oh, I was like, we can unplug it and plug it back in.
Man, 2 years and Dennis didn't break the stove. You've been here like 3 weeks. 3
Hey,
classes.
I passed my probation. Thank you very much.
Well, technically it's today.
Oh, no.
So let's see how this works out for you.
I will see myself out.
If I can verify that,
Uh-oh. David is resetting the stove currently. Good times.
Nothing but fun here.
I hope you can dance, Chef, because
I can do a lot of things. I can do a little two-step. I can't two-step. Who am I kidding? Well, you know what might happen is we might just finish this in the oven. It's a good thing I have some preheated ovens happening. And some seared chicken already.
island cooktop.
yeah. And David's resetting the breaker. We have nothing.
What is that?
So here, let me get a little induction burner for you, Chef.
Did that kill it?
That killed it. Okay. There we go. We're friends. For now.
For next time.
For next time. I guess I should just have a whole backup kitchen somewhere.
We do. We have several. So
Several backup kitchens?
yeah, we do
So-
actually.
You would imagine at this point it's simmering and you've scraped all of the spices off of the bottom there. My pan has cooled down just a little bit. So that's what happens when you spill chicken stock on your stovetop is the whole thing just stops working.
Barb says it's nice to see the stove is still ornery. It's not just Dennis. The stove hates everybody,
It
Barb.
hates everybody.
It is consistent.
That does make me feel a little bit better. It makes me feel a little bit better. Not much, but a little bit.
So that was honey that went into there.
That was a little bit of honey that I just added in, about a tablespoon. And the big reason that I like to add honey is because some of these spices can get quite bitter after a while when it's cooking down, especially if you overdo it on one of them. So a little bit of honey will go kind of a long way in that sense. So I'm waiting for this to come back up to a simmer. I'm going to get my chicken back in my pan here. And in about 15 minutes or so, pretty much once I'm done with the couscous, I will check the chicken, and then that's when I'm going to add in the olives and the apricots. The olives I'm not putting in too soon because I don't want it to be very salty and very briny, and it's a lot of olives. It's also a good 2 cups of olives. So I add it in more towards the end because I don't want the broth itself. I don't want it to be an olivey flavor in the broth. I just want the olives to kind of round everything out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, almost a garnish.
Yeah.
Of olives. So the olives you're using are black and green,
and green olives.
but you're not using the dark sun-dried olives. Those are too intense for this, right?
Yes, exactly. So
Sun-dried.
I'm using mild olives. I don't have Kalamata in there either for the same reason. Kalamata olives are very, very strong. So I left those out and I just went for some green olives and yeah, the lighter color olives there. And really, once it starts simmering, so I've got a little bit of bubbling happening, I'm going to grab my lid. I'm going to pop it over top here, and we're just going to let it do its thing. Now, once this comes up to a really active boil, I'll turn the heat down a little bit. I just want this to be simmering. I don't want it to be at a rage. And then we're going to ignore it, and we're just going to let it do its thing, and we're going to try not to upset the stovetop more than we need to.
So sorry, when do the apricots go in?
The apricots are going to go in at the same time as the olives.
So the apricots could be swapped out for cherries, raisins.
Cherries, raisins, any kind of dried fruit that you really, really like. It's to add some sweetness as well, just to add a little bit of chewiness and a little bit of sweetness in there. The apricots are also going to soak up a lot of that sauce a little bit later to kind of mellow everything out.
Yeah, so the apricots will kind of plump up and rehydrate.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually like this with raisins. You could use dried cranberries.
Yeah.
Or leave it out altogether. Some people don't love that.
Some people
but
hate dried fruit.
It's such I think, such an important component in the dish because it adds that chewy texture, but it also adds that tart sweetness
Yes.
that I think is super necessary in this.
I've got raisins that we're going to be putting in our couscous today, which is one of the only reasons why I didn't put the raisins also into the tagine, because typically I do. I do really enjoy raisins and apricots together, and I like to use them as much as I can. So this guy here is doing its thing. I'm going to grab another small pot here, and we are going to make some couscous. Now, this is not Israeli couscous. It's your nice fine couscous. I love cooking with couscous because it cooks so quickly, and it's so easy to add flavor. So, again, we're going with more of the Moroccan style here. So I've got some turmeric, some cinnamon, and some coriander. We're going to be adding in apricots, raisins, some slivered almonds. I've got lots of herbs, some mint, some cilantro. That'll be towards the end. A little bit of lemon. But if you're looking for a different style of couscous, my favorite way of doing it is actually hydrating the couscous with half orange juice and half water. And then I make it really nice and kind of citrusy. Lots of dried cranberries, lots of almonds, lots of mint in there.
So
but
instead of the stock?
Instead of the stock, yeah. I use a combination of orange juice and water instead. And the beauty about what makes couscous so easy is that you just need to take your liquids, bring it up to a boil, put your couscous in, stir it, off the heat, cover it, and just let it go. And then the couscous just sucks up all of the liquid, gets hydrated, and then that's it. It's so easy.
So couscous technically is pasta.
Yes.
So if you were doing this and you wanted a gluten-free version, would you use quinoa the same way, or what would you do instead?
Quinoa doesn't cook the same way. So if you did want to use quinoa, you would have to cook it in a pot with 3 times the amount of liquid, covered and simmered, more like the way that you cook rice, if you wanted it to be gluten-free.
You could do rice with
You
it.
could also do rice.
Right.
Yeah, rice would be a really great option. You could do a nice rice pilaf to go alongside instead of doing the couscous if you wanted to keep it go on the gluten-free side. So in my small sauce pot here, I'm going to get a little bit of olive oil. Now the reason I started my other dish, the chicken, with grapeseed oil instead of olive oil is that olive oil has a lower smoke point and is better suited for things like simmering and light cooking, whereas I was trying to brown my chicken earlier, and you want to use an oil that can get nice and hot without burning at a low temp, which is why I grabbed my grapeseed oil for that reason. So in my pot, very first thing I'm going to do is add my spices. And my onions and garlic are going to go in very quickly after, but I'm just going to toast my spices in the oil a little bit, make a really nice fragrant oil. The turmeric is going to change the color right away. Make it bright yellow. Okay. All right. I was like, it's just blinking red. I don't know what that means. All right. So I've got my onions and my garlic in my pot here. I had my spices that I was just toasting in a little bit of olive oil very quickly. Okay.
And are you using the fine couscous or the Israeli couscous?
Fine. I'm using the fine couscous. I've never cooked Israeli couscous in this manner, just with the steaming, covering it with saran wrap, which is what I'm going to be doing. But Israeli couscous is amazing, or pearl couscous, to soak up a lot of flavor. I use Israeli couscous. Have you ever risotto with Israeli couscous before?
I have not.
Yeah.
I used it in salads. It's nice in salads.
It's nice in salads because it's nice and bulky.
A lot of people don't like couscous. They don't like the texture of the fine
Really?
couscous. So the Israeli is more appealing to some people who have a textural issue with it because it is a
Okay.
bit grainy.
It is, absolutely.
But that is sort of what it is. It's the tiniest little pearl of pasta.
Yep.
And it can, I guess, feel a little grainy.
Gritty,
So,
maybe?
yeah, people not everybody loves the texture. So
Interesting. Oh, couscous is one of my favorite things. I didn't learn until I was, in my mid-20s that, you're supposed to eat couscous with your hands. And I was like, I don't understand. How am I supposed to eat it? And then I realized you're supposed to have a whole, other things like bread and meat, and then you eat it all together. I was like, do you just sit here and I don't get it.
Eat it like popcorn.
Well, yeah, I was like, well, who made this rule? I don't understand. And then I was like,
well, you're not supposed to eat it on the sofa, first of all, Chef.
I know.
Yeah.
But this is so good that I would, I would just sit there and eat it on its own. So my onions and my garlic are nice and fragrant. They're bright yellow at this point. That's the turmeric kicking in there. I've got some spices that are starting to stick to the bottom of the pot. So I'm going to add my chicken stock into this now. Couscous is a 2-to-1 ratio, so 2 cups of liquid to 1 cup of couscous, 1 cup of grain.
So if you were making a vegetarian tagine, obviously it wouldn't have chicken in the first part, but you could sub out with some really delicious veggies.
Absolutely. I would definitely do chickpeas.
Yeah.
Because chickpeas can braise and they can pick up lots of flavor. You could do it with green lentils. That would be a good substitution towards the end. Eggplant you could have in there that you let braise. Cauliflower, anything nice and hearty.
And then for the stock, you could just, like you said, use the orange juice or use a veggie stock.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the couscous.
Yeah, totally. And I have seen people just, they do just use water. But, when you have an opportunity to add flavor, I like to. So I'm going to wait until my liquid here comes up to a simmer, a boil actually, and then as soon as it boils, I stir in my couscous. I've got a piece of saran wrap here, which I'm realizing we have lids in this place, but we're just going to use saran wrap.
We're fancy like that.
We're going to go with the saran wrap because, you know, I want to make sure that everyone else has it, right? Ooh, it's starting to smell like all of the
Sounds
spices.
like Barb is torn between chicken, green lentils, or beans. Sorry,
Oh,
Barb.
wow.
I think Barb would stick with the chicken, but
Or you just try them all.
Yeah.
And then let us know. Let us know which way to go.
Report back next Wednesday.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. What are we doing next Wednesday? Here it's going to be a little interesting in this kitchen next Wednesday.
next Wednesday is going to be I'm looking forward to next Wednesday, actually. We're doing a Christmas booze episode.
Yes.
So Chef and I were talking about, you know, Christmas drinks and cocktails, and we were like, why don't we make our own Baileys? Why don't we make our own limoncello? Why don't we make our own whiskey cream? Why don't we make our own hot buttered rum mix? So
Yep.
that's what Chef and I are going to experiment with this week. And then next week, we're going to do booze for Christmas. So you can make it, put it in the fridge, or let it sort of do its thing, and then you can either gift it or, stay at home and drink it, whatever.
You could also stop by the store and leave some here and ask me to see how you did. I'd be okay with that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll taste test
I'm
some,
okay with
you know.
that.
We'll let you know.
So
But
that's
you'll be busy, so if you need backup.
I will be busy. It's true. I'll have to call in my wig man for this.
actually suddenly David's super interested in the classes, but Barb wants to know if you use beef in the tagine ever. Would you use beef?
Yeah, you could. I would use beef shank. I would use a cut of beef that you want to braise for a long time to really kind of pick everything up, but I don't see why you wouldn't.
A short rib.
A short rib would be great in there. Yeah, absolutely. You could do beef.
You could even use stew beef. It's going to cook
Yeah.
for quite a while, so
Yep.
you can use a less expensive cut for sure. Meat is so expensive right now.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's really crazy. So I tend to, we're not eating nearly as much beef at home right now just because of the price. But all protein is crazy expensive.
Yeah. So I've got my couscous here just covered. It's steaming. My chicken, I'm about to actually open up and flip the thighs over. I just combined my sugar, my water, my rose water, and my lemon. And this is the syrup for the baklava. So I'm just going to pop this onto the stove and let it come up to a boil. And I'm going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes, just until it reduces. So while that's happening, we're going to add some olives and apricots to our chicken.
Ooh, Gladys says she's infusing apples and cinnamon into tequila for margaritas this week.
Ooh. That sounds delicious.
It does sound good.
So I'm giving my chicken thighs a little turn here. And again, the beauty of chicken thighs is that these are more or less already cooked.
Yeah.
They've been sitting there or steaming for less than 10 minutes, and they're already mostly cooked. I'm going to go ahead and add my olives here and my apricots that I've just cut in half. I've also got a lemon. So we're going to add a little bit of lemon juice. And just for the purpose of it being a little bit quicker to get it out on time, I'm going to let this continue to cook uncovered. If I wanted for the flavors to kind of really deepen, I'd leave it covered so that I'm not losing any liquid. But I do want this to reduce just a little bit, make a bit of a sauce. So I'm going to have it uncovered for another...
And sorry, you pitted all those olives.
These
right?
are pitted olives,
Yeah.
yes.
You can use unpitted, but you just have to warn everybody at the dinner table.
Exactly.
That there's pits in there.
And I didn't know if I don't want to put you through that tonight.
Thanks for that.
I figured I'd at least take the, I've been watching you haul it all day, so I figured at least I would take the pits out of your olives,
You've been watching me what?
Haul it.
Oh,
You've been hauling, man. Every time I look over, you've got like 3 boxes in your hands, and you're going, and I'm over here hiding with my onions.
Dude, it's busy.
I know. And it's...
I hate when they leave pits in there, or you have to shell the tails on the shrimp.
Oh, the tails on the shrimp. Do you know how many of those I've eaten? Do you know how many live in my body
I
permanently?
paid for this. Do it for me.
That's why I'm here.
Yes.
That's why I'm here. Exactly.
But that being said, David, if the shrimp is deep fried, will eat the tail. If it's crispy and fried, he will eat it. So
Interesting.
I will
Oh,
not.
that's very good.
No.
We should play a game. Will he eat it? Will he
Oh.
notice?
Oh,
Will-
he'll notice.
He'll notice.
Yeah.
So my couscous here has already hydrated quite a bit. And I'm just taking a fork here and I'm kind of fluffing it up. There's a little bit of liquid left. And I'm going to cover it again. But before I cover it again, I'm going to add in the rest of kind of the garnishes here. I'm going to just give it a quick little...
And you have to use a fork for this job. If you use a spoon, it'll turn to mush.
You really want to lightly... I just put that fork in my mouth. I don't want to... I'm sure you like me, but I don't think you want to like me that much. You really want to lightly just kind of pull at it with your fork.
Pinky out like that, Chef, is that an important technique?
It's very important. If your pinky is not out, you're not doing it right. I don't know. And actually, I don't even really need to cover this again. It's already cooked. I'm going to add in my dried fruit. I've got some toasted slivered almonds. I've got some chopped mint and some chopped cilantro. Let me turn that down. Now we're raging. And I've got a lemon here. Little bit of lemon zest while I'm at it. Get a little bit of lemon zest in there. Some juice. Got my knife sharpened this weekend, or last weekend. It was a very important part of my weekend. I told myself I would do it. They did a great job because when my knife flew through my fingertip, I barely felt it until it was too late. So, but my knife is now sharp. They did a great job, actually.
Well, I burnt myself yesterday, so you're in good company.
2 peas in a pod. 2 peas in a pod. I did drop a chair on her the other day. You never know what'll happen when I'm here. I've also thrown chicken. I don't do it on, well.
So the couscous doesn't need to be super hot because you're going to serve it with the tagine, which is obviously super hot. So if you're entertaining, you can make the couscous ahead of time.
Yep.
And just leave it covered at room temperature,
Yeah.
right?
I normally actually eat it at room temperature. I
Yeah.
never really eat it super crazy hot.
Yeah.
So I've got everything kind of mixed in here. I'm going to give this one more taste, but I don't need to cover it. I thought I would have to, but I don't need to. Everything is
Because
there.
we've already established you're eating it with your hands, so why would it be super hot? Because, you know.
I can't eat it if it's hot and I'm on my couch.
True. Very true.
Mm.
I feel like that wouldn't stop you, but
It wouldn't
whatever.
stop me. Not in the slightest. I'm going to add a little bit more lemon juice. Just a little bit more. I'm going to grab another fork. My chicken I'm going to turn off here.
Sorry, did you season that with salt, the couscous?
The couscous, I had to season stock. I didn't actually, but I had to season, my chicken stock was very salty.
Okay.
So that's the only reason I didn't. But that's why I was tasting it to see if I did have to add salt, which I would do kind of at this point. But my chicken broth was on the salty side. Okay. So this guy can now sit off to the side. My chicken here is cooked. I'm going to give a taste to my broth before I finish the seasoning on it because of all those olives in there. And then you've got the fastest tagine I think I've ever made in my life.
It smells great.
It's pretty tasty. Ooh, yeah. I'm going to add a little sprinkle of salt here. And a little bit of pepper, not a lot, just to kind of round it out here. And
No herbs in the tagine, just the herbs in the...
you can finish the
Couscous?
tagine with some parsley. I have some chopped parsley in the fridge, actually. A little bit of chopped parsley and cilantro.
So there's no nuts in the tagine. There's only nuts in the couscous.
Yes. Go. I'm going to grab some chopped parsley.
I feel like when I've been somewhere, they served it with like fresh, like chopped nuts on top, but the nuts were really salty. I feel like maybe it was like a Marcona almond, like a fried, spicy,
interesting.
like spiced nut that was on top of it.
I've had it with spiced sunflower seeds.
Oh,
I've had like roasted and spiced sunflower seeds on top.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Have you been to Morocco? No, me either.
No,
It's
but
on my
do you want to
list.
go?
Yes, I do want to
Okay,
go.
we should go.
There's a really
go in March.
amazing Moroccan restaurant downtown San Francisco where David and I have eaten a couple of times, and the food there was really outstanding. I've heard of a couple of good Moroccan restaurants in Vancouver, but I haven't been to them. Have you been to any?
There's one that's on my list, and I've been told is phenomenal. It's called Multaka, and and I was supposed to go, and I never ended up going, but I have been told that it's some of the best kind of keep you happy home style Moroccan food that you can get. Let's
go try it.
Yeah.
Report back.
We'll let you guys know. So I've got some couscous here. If you wanted to add a nice creamy component to this, I would just put a really nice herbed yogurt on top. I don't know why I'm only making one plate. There's multiple of you guys here. I would put a really nice herbed yogurt on top. Again, if you're a baby like me, if you don't really tolerate spice that well, not that this is spicy, but say the person who's making it likes to make things spicy. My partner, he's a big fan of spice. And then that herbed yogurt will kind of help you. It'll balance everything out so you're not burning your mouth off or you're only tasting, like to me, I say like I'm only tasting spice. That's it. That's all I get is just like hot. But I don't really put a lot of pepper in my food. I'm sure you've noticed. I'm just a massive, massive, massive baby here. All right. See, I'm all about the onions on this. For me, when it comes to braising or making a chicken tagine, the thicker I can slice the onions, the better, because I just love when the onions stew and they soak up all of the sauce. And it makes for a very lovely...
Well, the onions also sweeten the stock, right?
They
So
do.
it's... Did you put garlic in there? But not... You did, but not a lot.
Not a lot, not a lot. A lot more onion than garlic. Okay, a little bit of that sauce on top there. And the couscous will also kind of continue to absorb liquid. This is definitely not something, if you don't like olives, this particular one that I just made would not be for you. But if you love olives.
But you could leave them out or just
Absolutely.
do a few of them.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're not a fan.
You don't have to go all out.
Olives are a bit like cilantro. I think you love them or hate them.
Yeah.
I used to be a hater. Now I love it.
I hated olives too, and then I started dating an Italian, and I didn't have a choice.
Right.
It was like olives or get out, and I needed someone to help me pay rent, so I could not get out.
I mean, when I was a kid, my grandpa used to eat tins of those really gross black olives, and that's what I grew up thinking was olives, not these delicious green olives.
Plump olives. There you
Thank
go.
you. This looks so good.
Now I'm gonna grab my baklava out of the oven. I'm sure it needs a little bit more time. But my syrup here, I let it cook down until I could really smell the rose. That's what I went for. I pretty much waited until I could smell the rose. Oh, I don't need to. There we go. Just kidding. There we go.
Oh my God, look how perfect my baklava is.
Look how perfect it is until you look underneath and it's raw. No. So the top here is nice and golden because Angie had her magic touch here. And it's important that you pour the syrup on while it's hot. Okay, so I've got my rosewater syrup here all over top. It's going to seep through all of those cuts that we made. And then you want to let this cool down fully to room temperature, fully cool down before you slice into it. But you just let that, oh, that just came out of the oven, Tessa. So you just want to let this sit here and absorb all of the syrup. And in about 40 minutes, that guy will be good to go. But that's the fastest Rosewater Baklava and chicken tagine we have made, or I have made today. How is it? Is it okay?
Well, we're at 59 minutes and 50 seconds, and you did a baklava and a tagine, and I talked for 10 minutes of it.
You helped, though. You came in and you helped.
Well,
You helped.
the tagine is really delicious. I mean, this is like, I don't know, it's total comfort food for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it makes you feel warm and happy on the inside. That's how like Moroccan food to me is just like, it just makes you feel nice and comfortable, and all those spices and everything is just a happy little combination.
Is there any chance you can lift a slice of that out just so they can see what the inside looks like?
I am going to try my best.
Would you like an offset or something for that?
I would, yeah. Let me see here if I can find a nice, there we go. I'm going to use my dry rag for this so that I don't.
I feel like Mary used every offset in the kitchen.
Mary loves using everything, but Mary cleans up.
Mary loves an offset spatula. Let me just get you a small plate for that so you can see what the inside looks like.
Yeah, Tessa does not clean up as much. Okay. There we go.
Oh man, that looks perfect. I did an amazing job.
You did a great job. Good job, chef.
Gosh. So you can see in there the layers of pastry, and I did a couple layers of the nuts, but like Chef said, you could just do a single layer and make it like a pistachio sandwich. I don't know, Jenna, if you can get close in on
On the pistachio sandwich.
Jenna has to put down her fork just for a second. Anyhow, it smells amazing, and it doesn't smell super rosy.
No, it doesn't, right? The syrup, if you smell the pot that the syrup was in, it does smell a little rosy. But for the most part, the actual baklava itself, that's why I only use 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons.
Do you ever do fruit in the baklava?
I've never done a fruit baklava.
So,
or fruit in.
Maybe you don't know this about me, but I used to compete in barbecue competitions.
That I know.
And one of the desserts that I made a long time ago was a bacon baklava. And it had bacon, and it was made with maple syrup in the...
It's like a bacon jam? Like a sweet, like...
Sort of. It was crumbled bacon. It had some raisins, so it was salty, savory, sweet.
God.
It was really delicious.
Oh my God.
I decided it was a little too weird to take to the competition we were going to. Like, my friends appreciated it, but I'm not sure the
general public would be like,
would have appreciated it. But baklava you can do lots of things with. So pistachio obviously is the most common, but I've had it with dried fruit.
Interesting.
In it as well. Candied peel in there is really good. A little bit of candied orange peel or something mixed in with the pistachios or the almonds. But
I want to try that. Do you have a recipe for that, for the bacon one? Yeah? Oh, we're going to try it.
I do.
I'm trying.
Okay, so hopefully you guys learned something new tonight. Chef, this was a really ambitious menu for an hour. You did it. Good job. Good job. Thank you for joining us tonight. Next week here, Wednesday, is Boozapalooza.
Yes, Boozapalooza.
So we're going to make a whole bunch of different kinds of infused drinks, cocktails, booze that needs to sit and soak until you're ready for the holidays. And so we're going to talk about all of these different kinds of ideas, and Chef and I are going to do the class together. And apparently David's going to be here.
David's going to be here as well. He's bringing snacks, actually. I think he's bringing the food because we're just going to be drinking. Making drinks.
What?
Yeah. You didn't know? That's what happens when you're in the peanut gallery. You have to contribute.
Yes, the peanut gallery is fun. Jenna, did you hear that?
She's going to bring a vegetable tray. It's fine.
Jenna and her vegetable tray. All right, so thank you for joining us tonight. The recipes, like I said earlier, are always on our website. This video will live on our YouTube channel and on our website, so you can find us there. You can follow us on Instagram at Well Seasoned Gourmet, and you already know where we're located on Facebook. So there's a couple dinners left for Friday night this week, and we're doing enchiladas.
Oh my God, enchiladas, and they're so good.
They are good. So if you haven't booked your dinner yet, you should do that now before they're gone. I think there's only 4 or 5 left. Anyhow, thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here next Wednesday at 6
o'clock.
Stay safe and, Stay hydrated.